Khorne here, and today I will be making a guide on how to reach tier 5 Altdorf with Karl Franz as quickly as possible. I will also show you how to get rid of Khazrak, Festus and Kamblar in a fairly easy manner. Now, even though I have made the guide to be 21 turns, or until we reach tier 5 Altdorf, only the first 5 turns of this guide are guaranteed to happen in exactly the same way. The rest of the turns have an extreme amount of variables in them, and they will almost never happen the same way twice. Now, even though I am playing this on the AI beta, I have also done it multiple times on the current patch of 6.0.5, and everything happens in exactly the same way, so don't worry about it. The campaign will as always be on Legendary with very hard battles and maximum AI cheats. Now, a big problem when it comes to building a tier 5 settlement early on is the fact that in most cases you aren't gonna have enough income to be able to build it up. But in this guide I have tried to squeeze out as much income from every possible source I could find, so that you should have just enough to construct everything up to tier 4 at the very least. And now, without further ado, let's begin. Turn 1, you'll want to recruit a lord at Altdorf, and that lord must have the noble trait. This trait reduces construction time by 25%, and we will need this so that on turn 3 we can begin constructing Altdorf to tier 3. And if you don't have a noble lord available, you can always just load one in. Begin building up Altdorf and demolish the barracks building. Afterwards, attack your first enemy. Now, from this point until you reach Festus, you will want to fight almost every battle manually, as to take as few casualties as possible. If you need some help on how to fight these battles, just set up on a hill like this so that your guns have proper line of sight, and use the cavalry to run down enemy ranged units. After winning the first battle, make sure to kill the enemy general, as he is technically not dead yet. Afterwards, put a skill point in to hold the line for Karl Franz, attack Grunberg and do the exact same thing, except you no longer have to run down enemy units. Occupy Grunberg, start recruiting 2 archers, build up the resource building, then over at Helmgard recruit a new lord. I prefer to get a master engineer, but Huntsman will do the job just fine, and if you don't have access to either of these, then Empire Generals are probably your best option. Recruit a single archer with the Lord and Helmgard. Next go into Diplomacy and with Paravon get a non-aggression pact for some cash. With Tel Backland get trade and military access for some more income. Then go and offer to join war against Katerin's enemy for as much money as she will give you. And finally, with Kamblar, offer to join war against Artois. Start researching the technology, continuous production. Put the second skill point into Route Marcher for Karl Franz, and just end the turn. Turn 2, you will get your Battle Wizard, which you will want to embed into Karl Franz's army. Now, if the Battle Wizard spawned at his location, you can do so instantly, but if it spawned at any other location, you will want to wait until you besiege Uberstrike. Next, move Karl Franz a minuscule amount outside of Grunberg towards Uberstrike. Go into Diplomacy and sell Grunberg to the Vampire Count's faction Elspeth is at war with.
There is desperation in your pitiful eyes. That knowledge alone will be leveraged against you.
Then offer to join war against them with Elspeth, and using the Lord at Altdorf, you will occupy Grunberg again. Then build the pottery building at Altdorf, and using the Lord at Helmgard, you will attack Uberschreich. Force march Karl Franz to reinforce and fight the battle. Afterwards, occupy the settlement, demolish the barracks building, and put a skill point into Route Marcher for your second Lord. Start recruiting 2 archers with the Lord at Uberschreich, recruit a new Lord at Helmgard, and recruit another archer with that Lord. Next, go into diplomacy and offer peace with Artois for as much income as possible, and just end the turn. Turn 3, you'll want to attack Eilhart with the Lord that occupied Uberschreich, reinforce with the Lord at Helmgard and with Karl Franz, but make sure that Karl Franz will have enough movement remaining to go into ambush stance afterwards. Fight the battle, and this battle will be a bit more difficult than the rest. I used the Master Engineer and cast some damage spells to force the enemy to attack me. When they start coming towards you, they will blob up their units, so that is when you will want to try and use as many area effect abilities or attacks to dish out as much damage as you possibly can. Finally, using your Reichsguard, you will want to go behind the enemy and just run down all of their range units. After winning the battle, occupy the settlement. Now, after occupying the settlement, you will be missing 15 growth to actually start building up Altdorf to tier 3. But there is a way to reach the population surplus we need. You'll want to go into diplomacy and sell Eilhart to Marienburg for as much income as you can get, then immediately declare war and occupy the settlement back. Now, if you check your province, you will have 1 population surplus. Put Karl Franz into ambush stance. Start recruiting archers with the Lord outside of the settlement. Use Open the Gates decree, and move the Noble Lord back to Altdorf. Start building up Altdorf, the pottery building, construct the income and the growth building, then put the commandment for growth and construction cost reduction. Disband the Lord at Altdorf. In diplomacy, get a non-aggression pact with Bastion for 1,500 income, get a trade agreement with Katerin for some more income, and then just end the turn. Over the end turn, the army at Marienburg will besiege Eilhart, if they didn't detect your ambush, which in most cases they won't. Turn 4, you will just move your armies a little bit closer to reinforce and attack with the army in the settlement. Here, the enemy army does retreat, but sometimes they will stand and fight. It mostly depends on how damaged your armies are. If they retreat, use Karl Franz to attack, and this battle should be a lot easier than the previous one. You'll just want to fight it in the exact same way. Afterwards, besiege and attack Marienburg.
Summon the Elector Counts.
Now, the siege here is fairly easy to deal with. Just deploy at this location as me. Using the mortars, demolish the enemy tower. And using Karl Franz and the cavalry, go to the gate opposite of where you deployed, demolish it and start capturing points and hunting down enemy range units. The AI will almost always move everything it has to deal with your cavalry, so you should be able to just demolish the gate where you deployed, move in with your army and start finishing the battle. After winning the battle, just loot and occupy the settlement. Now, usually you will get the military building for recruiting cavalry once you occupied it, but here I got a little bit unlucky and got the resource building instead. If you're able to, I would recommend you recruit some Empire Knights, but I'm unfortunately able to only recruit 2 archers. Afterwards, you'll want to build up the income building at Altdorf. Make peace with Marienburg for as much money as they will offer. Check diplomacy to see if someone's interested in trading with you. Recruit a new lord at Marienburg, which we will be using as bait, so don't get too attached to this guy. Make one of your lords the Elector Count of Marienburg, and just end the turn. Turn 5, you'll want to recruit the Bordermen, state troops, then activate the Requisitions Decree to replenish your state troops. You should have enough prestige if you haven't spent it on anything I didn't tell you to. Recruit the Greatswords and the Bordermen, and then force march your armies towards the Black Pit. Afterwards, you'll want to sell Marienburg to Marienburg for some income, non-aggression, trade and military access. And then just end the turn. Turn 6, see if you can't get some income for making peace with faraway enemies. Move your armies into ambush stands towards the Black Pit, all but the one you recruited to be bait. This one you will want to force march towards the same direction, only a little bit closer to the settlement than I did here. And this is so we can bait Khazrak into coming towards us, so we can deal with him easily. Over at Altdorf, just build up all of your settlement buildings, get the landmark for recruiting spellcasters, and the building for recruiting artillery. And then just end the turn. In this situation here, Khazrak does come near us, but a lot of the time he will just ignore you and head for Middenheim. So don't be too surprised if he does that in your campaign. Turn 7, if you have successfully baited over Khazrak, you will want to attack him using only Karl Franz's army. This way he probably won't run away. If auto-resolve is as good for you as it is for me, I would suggest just taking it. Then you want to join war against the Greenskins with Dottie for some income and occupy the Black Pit. Recruit some archers or spearmen, depends on which you prefer. Disband the lord, that was bait if he is still alive, and then just end the turn. Turn 8, move towards Middenheim. If you fail to bait over Khazrak, then he will have occupied it by this point. If you did manage to kill him and Boris still owns the settlement, you will then just want to force march through the territory to reach Festus. In my case here, Festus actually went to war with Toddy and occupied the settlement for himself. So we will have to deal with him next turn. Sell the Black Pit to Toddy for some agreements and income. Recruit an engineer to embed into Karl Franz's army, and then just end the turn. Now, from this point onwards, nothing will be the same for you as it was for me. But the main things you will want to do in your campaign is get rid of Festus as quickly as you can, and either keep his territory, give it back to the Elector, or sell it. And then go back to Altdorf and try to deal with Kemlar. The next important thing to remember are going to be the turns. Namely, on turn 11, 14, 17 and 20, you'll want to open the gates to increase the population of Altdorf to get it to tier 5 by turn 21. I will go through the rest of the campaign I did, but no, most of it isn't gonna be the same for you. Turn 9, I joined war against Festus for a little bit of cash, occupied Middenheim and recruited some more units. Turn 10, I occupied Krudenwald and used the Inquisition decree to lower the corruption of the province, so we don't have to smell some Nurgle farts. Then I sold Middenheim to Toddy for a little bit more income.
I am Franz, they will obey. Welcome, my countrymen.
Turn 11, I moved my armies towards the Brass Keep, opened the gates to get population surplus 4 at Altdorf, recruited the noble lord from the beginning, and started building up the settlement. You should then disband the lord to save up some income. Turn 12, I got attacked by Festus and was able to just auto-resolve him. Then I occupied the Brass Keep and Hagig. Now, I wasn't really paying too much attention here and forgot to put an Elector count for Hagig, so you probably would want to do that. Build up the Public Order building and the Resource building at the Brass Keep. Turn 13, start force marching towards Kemlar to deal with him, as a war declaration is on its way. Try and get an alliance with Toddy for a little bit of cash, and so you can keep track of the Greenskins up north. Now here I also had the opportunity to confederate Marienburg, which I took and instantly regretted. Got declared war on by Kemlar. I unfortunately lost Marienburg and Eilhart, but it didn't hinder me at all here, so it was fine. Turn 14, just keep force marching towards Eilhart. Recruit some noble wizards to embed into your armies, and don't forget to open the gates. Turn 15, I start building up the landmark for recruiting Reichsguard at Altdorf, so that you can give them to Karl Franz if you wish. You can also build up anything else you want, doesn't really matter too much, just know that you're gonna need at the very least 14,000 income to build up Altdorf to tier 5. I killed one of Kemlar's armies here, and since we have met a Cathayan faction, I offer to join war against their enemies for as much income as they will offer. Kemlar suicides into Karl Franz over the end turn, and is pretty much done for here. Turn 16, I finish him off and take back Eilhart. Turn 17, I occupy Marienburg and open the gates at Altdorf. Over the end turn, I got myself into a bit of a disaster situation. But luckily the bordermen are good enough to deal with whatever the vampire counts had to throw at me. Turn 18, finish off all of Kemlar's remaining forces and start occupying his territory. Also, I finally remembered to put a electric count for Hegig. Turn 19, I then send the noble wizards back to Altdorf, keep finishing off Kemlar with France, and with the other army prepare for the monkey invasion. Turn 20, move all of your noble characters to Altdorf, open the gates, and if you have at the very least 4 characters in the region, you will be able to build Altdorf up to tier 5 in just 1 turn. With that, the guide is pretty much done. From here on out, it's pretty much up to you to play the campaign however you wish. If you enjoyed this one and would like to watch more of these, don't forget to subscribe for future content. Thank you all for watching, and until next time.
Khorne fights as one.